You're live.
All right. Good evening. This is the July meeting for the Village Environmental Policy Board for the Village New Paltz, the July 14th, 2020, 6:30 p.m. Meeting. We are going on Zoom due to COVID issues. We do have a quorum this evening, and so I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. If we could, for the audience watching, if we just introduce ourselves real quick. My name is Ted Nitza. I'm the chair of the Environmental Policy Board. I'm an engineer with Walden Environmental, and it'll be 4 years here next month that we've been in the community of New Paltz. Alex, you're the next one on my list, or I'm going on the Zoom list. Do you mind going from there?
Hey, I'm Alexandria Wojcik. Everybody knows me as Alex, and I am the Village Board liaison for the Environmental Policy Board. And, you know, I've been here since 2003, loving the environment, and I'm going to stop rambling. I see Rachel next.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I've been on this board so long, I don't even remember how long it's been. Same thing with being in New Paltz, and I'm happy to serve.
Rachel's also our secretary for the Environmental Policy Board. And then Fiona.
My name is Fiona Bowen. I've been a proud member of the EPB since last fall. So coming up on a year, and I'm very excited to be here.
Great. And then Ariana, just yourself.
My name is Ariana Basco. I am the assistant to the mayor and the village board, and I am the minute taker for the Environmental Policy Board.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, everyone. So our normal custom is to have an opportunity for the public to comment at our meetings. You know, obviously it's more challenging in this kind of format, but if there is any comments that anyone would want to make, just reach out to the village website or reach out to us, any of us individually. Send us an email. It doesn't have to be during the meeting. It can be at any time, and we'll go from there. Public hearings. We don't have any public hearings this evening scheduled. Administrative actions. We do have the agenda that's been out, and I'll entertain motions to approve the agenda or comments, concerns about it.
Motion to approve.
As been motioned, and Rachel, how about a second? I'll go ahead and second it. And I don't have any comments or concerns. Any other discussion about the agenda? We'll put off the vote until we see that Rachel gets back to us. So we'll leave that one hanging if we could.
Sorry, I was trying to.
There we go. All right. All those in favor of the agenda as proposed, say aye. Aye. Okay. Motion passes. Next item is the minutes. Minutes were put together pretty well. I reviewed them. I didn't have any comments. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the June meeting of the Environmental Policy Board.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, it's been moved.
Second.
Seconded by Rachel. Any discussion on the minutes? All right. All those in favor of the minutes from June, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. There are no claims that I'm aware of. Any announcements from policy board members? Alex, Ariana?
I don't have anything that isn't already on the agenda or going to be discussed.
Okay, good. It just occurred to
just
me.
one quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to share a quick update on the dance camera issue, because as you guys know, both the village and the town have passed I don't even know how many resolutions in opposition to the dance camera build out, which sounds like it's far away, but Newburgh is not far away. So at the last village board meeting, I had asked our legislator Eve for an update, and she wasn't sure why so basically Ulster County has been waiting on passing a similar resolution in opposition to the dance camera build out. And it's a really important resolution because Orange County really does look to Ulster County. But then COVID happened. And so basically this resolution has been stuck in committee that none of our New Paltz reps happen to be in. So I just wanted to share that I have shared the resolution with them on a pretty like weekly basis, like, hey, here you go again, as well as just, a different public comment every single time, basically I log on to my computer, the county legislator gets one. So Eve did say that in August, she will report back with as much information as she can find. So that's all.
Okay. Any other announcements? Okay. The next item is the Village Planning Board update. Don usually does that for us, but he's on vacation this week. Wishing him well. We all got a email from Don after last week's planning board meeting of the village. He gave us a quick update. I'll go over a couple of the highlights here, and then we can discuss any questions or concerns that there might be. The first thing on the planning board's agenda, there are 3 items. The first thing was Jack's Rhythms at 56 Main Street. Looking to change use, but because it's in the same building, there's no environmental policy board issues there. 85 North Chestnut began a process. It was a conceptual type discussion in front of the planning board. This is right across the street from the construction of Zero Place, and it's proposed to be a smaller version of Zero Place, Net Zero Place, and proposed to be similar in look to the Ridge Apartments at 58 South Manheim over by SUNY. Environmental Policy Board officially asked several questions, asked about rain gardens, other public spaces, restrooms, rail trail access, energy efficiency, solar, geothermal topics, and that confirmation that it would be following all environmental and other guidance documents from the town and the village in this area. So again, it was an introduction. The project champions were looking for some kind of feedback. I think they start off that process. Stewarts relocation. There is.
Wait.
Just let me describe the 3 projects, and then we can loop back.
Oh, okay, sure.
If we could, to any of them. Stewarts relocation. Stewarts is soon to be under construction, but there's an issue with the traffic signal that would go there at Henry Du Bois and Chestnut. Somewhat of a delay into 2021 with the traffic light. So Stewarts is starting the process of asking for a waiver or an official understanding that they could still start construction, open up the facilities, and under the first couple of months be operating without those last improvements being made. The turn lanes would be installed, the striping would be done, but not the traffic light. The planning board is tasked with deciding if that's going to be allowable or not. So that's something on their agenda. Those were the 3 things that were at last week's planning board meeting. Don again was there for us, gave us this report. We can discuss any questions or concerns. Rachel?
Oh, my questions was that he's saying that it's like Ridge View and Zero Place. Those things don't really have much in common. Ridge View is kind of like McTown houses. You know what I mean? That's basically what it is. There are rows of McTown houses. It was put on a wetland in exchange for them building a wetland next door to it, which it's kind of like a meadow. It's not very biodiverse. It's not a wetland. And then also to make up for filling in the wetland, they were supposed to put a wetland in somewhere in Shandaken. I don't know. It's crazy. But it's just basically McTown houses, and Zero Place is a giant cube. So what? I don't get it. I just like, I'm curious is like, did the conceptual come with any kind of drawing or anything? I mean, basically what it does have in common with Zero Place, which is a good thing, is that it's, basically already an eyesore, it's like already completely paved. They're not going to be cutting down any trees. And also I just want to point out, when you say across the street, it's across Mulberry Street. It's not across 32. It's on the same side of the street as Zero Place, as of the big side of Big Street.
Sure.
Um,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So yeah, I think we should get all the push for all the environmental goodies we can get. And I also am going to talk to Zero Place about this too. And I'm going to make sure that there's cut throughs so that people can walk from 32 to the rail trail without having to walk all the way down to Broadhead or even use Mulberry if they don't want to. You know what I mean?
Cut throughs on the property other than, well, yes, I hear your comments. I think, the maps and drawings that have been provided so far have been merely footprints, conceptual, preliminary. It showed the location of the building, the parking lot areas, things like that. But I think where the Ridge Apartments comparison came from is there were no profiles or no pictures or renderings supplied. And Don picked up on that component as comments or something. So I think we'll certainly see more. They have more work to do, more design work to do, but as initial introduction, that's what was provided.
Okay, it's just interesting because if you look at the two buildings, there's I have no idea what the person's thinking. They just don't look anything alike.
I believe I just shared the blueprint that we received in the email. And it does look like it's just one building, self-contained building.
Yeah, I agree. We can. Fiona, do you want to share that since you've got it called up?
Yeah, I think I shared it in the chat, but let me know if you don't see it.
No, I mean like share it on the screen. I think you've got permission.
Sure. Let me see if I can do this.
Yeah, everyone can share. So I just
Got it?
Ooh, yeah, nice job.
As a visual aid, that's and a Zoom use, pretty striking. Pretty cool. So this is what we were talking about. This is the only plan sheet that was presented so far. Again, it's conceptual. It's the beginning of the process. But as Fiona was pointing out, it shows the building towards the front. It shows it across Mulberry Street from Net Zero Place, parking and other areas in the rear. And what I imagine happened is there were questions or concerns from the planning board. Hey, what's it going to look like? And so the answer, the engineer or whoever was talking for the project said it's going to be something similar in style to the Ridge Apartments. Any other discussion items? Any questions?
Do we know if they've done any research into the impact on our water system? Because I know that's a continuing issue for the town, is repairing our plumbing system. So I assume this would be too early for them to have done any studies on that, right?
I would have, well, I think the short answer is no, they haven't done anything specifically to that. As part of the planning board process, I think they have to demonstrate that they have either permission to hook into the village water and sewer system or their plans to drill their own well or put in their own septic system. I do believe this is all intended to be on village water and sewer.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be their responsibility to demonstrate that they have those approvals in place.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at this map and it doesn't look like there's a direct cut through, but it's a little difficult for me to tell as far as rail trail access goes.
I would agree. I don't think it shows a paved thing, but in our comments, and the comments that the Environmental Policy Board submitted was that we wanted to see public restrooms, rail trail access. The origin of the questions came from comparing it to net zero. If net zero provided all of these things, perhaps this project could too.
Right.
Okay, any other questions or discussion items for this project?
No, but Fiona's definitely right about the water. I mean, there were all these issues with the water for Zero Place. I mean, not it's necessarily its an environmental impact on the stream nearby, but just the capacity of our sewage system.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a concern that they'll certainly have to look into, and I don't anticipate it would be taken lightly by the mayor and the sewer and water.
Cool. Yeah, there should be a walkway on the other side of it from Mulberry Street, connecting the rail trail and 32. There should be some kind of a sidewalk or path.
Okay. Any other items before we move on to the next item? Anything about Stewarts or Jack's Rhythms to talk about?
Okay. No.
All right. I'm going to go back to okay. Fiona, if you could unshare that, please.
Sure.
And I'll go back to sharing the agenda. While we were away, or when we were talking last, in blue is highlighted the email address for us, the Environmental Policy Board. So as I said earlier, if there are any comments the public would like to get to us, that's the best way to send it to us right now is environment@villageofnewpaltz.org. Okay. Next item is awareness collaboration report from the town's Environmental Conservation Board. That's myself. I'm also a member on the town's Environmental Conservation Board. We had our meeting, well, almost a month ago last week. And then I also, as part of that, attended the town's the town's planning board meeting last night. The majority of which was the, we'll say a new discussion of the Trans-Hudson site there at the Thruway. I can go over a little bit of those notes from the Trans-Hudson conversation or discussion. They were asking, in essence, for 3 waivers last night. The planning board process allows them to have a conceptual plan in place, not a full application. But with that, they could ask for waivers to allow them to further prepare their application. They were looking for the ability not to have the second floor required, retail or commercial, residential on the second floor of the buildings they were proposing. And then they wanted to allow 2 food and beverage drive-throughs of the 5 buildings that they were proposing. And then also as a late entry, they were looking to have the Empire State Trail included along the thruway, but as part of the 30-foot required vegetative buffer. So the 2 would be overlaid the same thing, a trail and a vegetative buffer within the same 30 feet. They went through a discussion with it. The only thing, well, the 2 issues about the second floor and the drive-through were both, it was both decided that Stacy, the building inspector, would have to rule on those items. And then the Empire State Trail issue, the planning board voted to approve that Oh, I'm sorry. Let me start over. Second floor deferred to the building inspector. The Empire State Trail issue, same thing, sent to the building inspector for feedback. The drive-through issue was discussed and was approved by the planning board by a vote of 4-2. Because it wasn't unanimous, they would have to, or they'd be allowed with that majority vote, they're allowed to approach the town board directly and ask for that waiver. If the vote were unanimous, they would, of course, be able to proceed. If it was denied, they could go to the BZA. But with a majority vote, they don't automatically get the waiver approved, but they are allowed to go to the town board for that. So I would expect that vote at the town board or presentation to be somewhat soon, based on their discussions from last night.
Trail and the development are two separate things. I mean, they're not somehow contingent on each other in any way, are they?
I'm sorry?
I feel like the trail, the Empire State Trail, and the fast food drive-through are two different things. Like, they're not contingent on each other is what I'm asking. Like, why are they connected? I don't understand.
Well, they had in essence, 3 waivers that they were looking for before they finalized their new plans or new layout, new application. This thing has been back and forth for quite some time. They have abandoned their last layout, and this most recent one, for those that have seen it, includes 5 buildings clustered towards the front, and then a parking area towards the back or north part of the site, with a bathroom facility that's intended for Empire State Trail access. And then as part of that, they route the Empire Trail, instead of along the roads tucked in behind the project itself, along the thruway to make those connections. I say that only describing what the drawings are, not advocating one way or the other.
Right. No, but I mean, is this a way that they're trying to get the development in by saying, well, we'll give the trail? I mean, how are they, what I'm wondering is, how are the two things connected? I mean, the Empire State Trail is a huge trail. I mean, are they saying they're going to allow it through their property if they get this development improved? And the other question I have is, who's it going to be? I thought Five Guys dropped out. What's the food place that's moving in there?
I'm not aware that they have any tenants specifically named of the 5 buildings that are presented. I've also heard that Five Guys and CVS and any of the prior proposed tenants may or may not still be interested. So I think it's unclear at this point. I think the revised plans is their attempt to listen to the feedback they've gotten on a community-wide basis for several months and to address those the way that they can. Again, I'm not advocating one way or the other, but I'm saying, the plan has been revised. It's different now, and it's different ways that I believe they're hoping to be able to achieve approval.
Okay, I'm curious. Are they still going to try to make? Are they going to get rid of the right turn lane?
Get rid of it?
Yeah, they're going to make a light, the traffic lights. And right now you can turn on to Putt Corners without stopping at the light from 299.
I don't remember seeing anything one way or the other on that. They do have a right in along that roadway, along Main Street, and then a right in or a left out or right out on Putt Road. There's no way to turn left out onto Main Street or there's no way to get out actually onto Main Street. You have to leave the property from Putt Corners Road. Any other Town Environmental Conservation Board issues. Okay. Next item is EPB reports, officers, committees, others. Plastic bags, from my own perspective, has somewhat been on hold. There is still an interest, I believe, from the village and the town for some kind of joint effort, but it has been put on a back burner, I think, for quite some time. I have noticed that there is no enforcement going on with plastic bags, and some of them are in use, some of them are not. But I think at least for now, the focus has been on other areas.
Can I say
Liz-
one thing on enforcement?
Yep.
So in a second, I'm going to share an email that I actually didn't send last night on one of the other topics on the agenda on idling. But just one big thing we've been talking about on the village board in particular is how enforcement works, with everything, and how police tends to be this interaction in quality of life and environmental issues in things that we really never really thought about as a society before, as much as we are right now. So that's just one big thing. I have a sense that a lot of different levels of government are probably going to have to take some of these drafts and these ideas back to the drawing board in terms of enforcement. And so the village board, we've been talking about, we have great code enforcers in our building department. How could we use that? We have to get creative in terms of enforcement, and really think seriously basically about the police issues and stuff. So if anyone has any good research on some plastic bag bans someplace else that have some sort of very different type community-based enforcement, send them my way. That's something we should do. Did that make any sense? I'm so tired.
Let me say this back to you. I think in the village, at least, enforcement of the plastic bag ban in the past was always done by trustees. It was not by the police or anything else. It was trustees taking active involvement in first going to the business, talking about advisements, educating, getting them up to speed. But eventually, if it ever came to it, it would be a trustee assessing a penalty, and not the police department. Right now, because it's a state ban, if not a county ban, both of them are in place. That may be unclear, and so you're saying we're open to ideas.
Yeah, basically, that's kind of the situation right now. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Residential trash collection contract. The town and the village are under a single hauler. From an environmental perspective, I hope to see that continue. B City, Rachel. You want to talk about this topic, and if you'd like, you could make an introduction. Allow. Oh, I thought we had Riley.
We don't have him?
He's here.
I'm here. I've been in this call. Sorry, I've been muted the whole time.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah. Nope, I see that. Okay, so anyway, Rachel, B City is the topic. I'll let you go, have the floor.
Well, basically, turning over in terms of planting and everything that to Riley, who's either going to be a researcher or a member, depending on what we can work out. And Ariana has this up with guy Jared, and basically he has a native plant kind of plantation out in Saugerties, and we're going to go take a look, and he has all these really hardy edibles on them and all kinds of things like that. And we're sort of progressing, Ariana and Jared and I met, and we're all going to meet with Riley, and we're moving forward with the plant have permission to plant in front of the village hall so far. I would like to get permission, even though we haven't submitted any plan for as many other spaces as we can, so that we have the permission first, and then have a project for the spaces that we already have the permission space. So to some other places, especially the area on the wall, the Clemson Brewery and the village property, because the Clemson brothers have already given us permission to plant stuff on their property, so we would just need it on the village side, and it's a little strip, right? Some daylilies growing there that look, but there's also some, area that they just do their usual weed whack floor treatment to, which so it's kind of barren, and they could stop mowing it if we got permission for that space too. But then there's other places we want to like, we haven't done this yet, but we want to get together and look at a map and figure out where all the other places are too. But for now, Riley is going to go ahead with the front of Village Hall, since we already have permission for that.
So should I talk a little bit about some of my ideas for the Village Hall?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So, I think the Village Hall could, the front of it could use some makeover. I think that the best time frame to start planning would be towards the fall, because July is the hottest month of the year. So like maybe late August, September would be good. But I think that making the plans early would be smart, just so you get all the materials and resources. So I was thinking that we could add some compost to enrich the soil of the Village Hall, because this current soil is a silty clay soil. So some plants could grow in there, but if you add compost, you could plant a much bigger variety of plants. And I was thinking we could plant low maintenance, pollinator friendly, of course, because bee city, and they would be short shrubs, so they would not block the windows. And I was thinking that we could mulch with cardboard and wood chips and set up a maintenance schedule for watering. Hopefully we get rain. And then we can get volunteers involved if we need them. But that's for the future. And I was thinking about two different options for in terms of planting. I was thinking of planting the northern bush honeysuckle, because it's a relatively hardy plant. It doesn't need too much water. And I was also thinking about planting the blueberry. That would be a separate option, but the blueberry is a good option because it's pollinator friendly and it is a native plant, and it also is a wild edible too. So that's nice. But there's a plethora of options that I've been considering in terms of bushes to plant. And it's good that we have Jared, who we're in contact with Jared, who has a nursery that seems to have a lot of really good pollinator native plants.
That's all awesome, Riley. I love hearing all about this. I think your plan is great. I know some of us have been on this email, but I'll just reiterate. I did talk to Tim, the mayor, about the soil remediation, and he's totally down with all of it. He basically is happy that we're doing something and that it's going to come into fruition. So we have his support, and the village board had already approved this. We know that they're supportive. But I was just giving him an update on like more of the timeline and what we're looking at. And it sounds like, all of this should go really well. I'm excited.
That's good.
Yeah.
No, I think this is great, Riley. It sounds like you got some good ideas. Rachel and Ariana have been working hard on this so far. It's good to see it coming along. Are there any questions for Riley or Rachel on Bee City items?
Riley, I'm curious if you've tested the acidity of the soil. I'm not sure if it's that far down the line.
So I did take soil samples, and I tested it that it was clay soil, but I haven't tested the pH yet. But I believe that it's pretty neutral. But I will definitely test the pH soon. I just haven't gotten around to that yet. But I've been doing a lot of research, and if it's not acidic enough, then there's ways to change the pH if you like mulch it with pine needles or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I was just, when you said blueberries, I know we tried to grow blueberries with clay soil. It didn't work because it was too alkaline. So I just thought that
Yeah.
had already
No,
looked
we'll
at.
definitely make sure that if we plant blueberries, that the soil will be up to that we won't plant that the soil will be fixed, or we'll put compost and pine needles to make sure that the pH isn't too alkaline. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds great. And we kind of have a relationship going with the composting operation for the town of New Paltz. So I wonder if we could get some low or no cost compost through that.
Yeah, I definitely like to get their info because compost definitely will be helpful for this project.
Oh yeah. That sounds
The-
great.
The village DPW also, like with all the leaves that are collected in the fall, there's a pile that they manage down by the Gardens of Nutrition where the sewage treatment plant is. And I spoke with the mayor about having them just like dump a bunch of that for us. So maybe Riley, I don't know if you want to like check that stuff out, see if it's something you want before we even organize with them. But I'm happy to help like just coordinate with them for like whatever day it is that we're going to be spreading this stuff or doing that kind of volunteerism.
Yeah, I'd definitely love to check out to see what they have, because the more materials, the better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's right there. It's like, it's not hidden behind a fence or anything. It's kind of just like right in the Gardens of Nutrition accessible. But maybe, after we meet with Jared, when that happens, maybe you and I could take a walk down there and just look at it together. So, we're both on the same page, and then I can have.
Yeah, so after we meet with Jared, we can figure this out, I guess.
Sounds good. Yeah. And then I'm thinking in terms of volunteers, do you feel like you want to just take the lead on organizing volunteers? Like, or I guess I'm a resource. So if you want to use me, please do. Is what
So
I'm saying.
I guess before thinking about the volunteers, I know that, it depends how many bushes we want to plant, which I think we can decide a little bit down the line. But I think that if it seems like let's say we want to plants like 12 or 15 bushes, right? Then we might want to get some volunteers to help out, because that might be a little bit more than something that I could do just on my own. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And in terms of organizing the volunteers, I think that there's a lot of people from the public schools that are wanting to do community service, because it looks good for their college resume. And have you heard of you've heard of National Honor Society, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
A lot of people, when they're trying to get into National Honor Society, which is every fall, they are always scrambling to get as many community service hours as possible. So I think that this fall, like September, October, would be just a prime time to get volunteers from the high school. So that's what I was hoping for.
Cool. I guess I was also thinking about volunteers if we were going to be digging up the soil at all, like to aerate it and layer it with the cardboard and the mulch. That would be another volunteer opportunity. Just because I mean Rachel has experienced how hard that soil is.
Yeah, well, I definitely want to get my hands on it, so I can have experienced it for myself, and then we can make decisions, I guess, and hopefully get working soon and have everything ready to go by this fall.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like we're like in the perfect time frame as long as we keep moving it forward. So thank you so much for being here and doing it.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Great. Any other discussion on Rachel's topic?
Yes. Do we need to vote Riley in as a researcher, and the other question was, is it possible for him to become a full-fledged member if those are my two questions.
Sure. Under new business, I've got consideration of research intern applicant Riley. For us to consider as a policy board, I put it under new business for lack of, it seemed like the appropriate place. But yes, we do have that on the agenda for tonight.
Great. Might have to leave a little bit early.
All right. I will. I'll.
Rachel, I can relay anything that we talk about to you.
Do you
Well,
need me
yeah,
to
we need
anything?
her to vote. So, I mean, I'll accept a motion in relation to Riley Corzine as a research intern with the Environmental Policy Board.
Awesome. Second.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded to recommend Riley Corzine as a research intern with the Environmental Policy Board. That would be forwarded on to the village board for approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you so much, Riley.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for helping me with this and getting me getting me in contact with all the people I need to know for this.
Sounds great. Okay, composting in the village. This topic is led by Fiona and Annabelle. Fiona, you want to give us an update?
Sure. So right now, I guess, focus of Team Compost has been the setup in the parking lot by the post office, which I'm sure you guys have seen how there are now picnic tables. And so we were able to collaborate, and it's kind of a joint effort between the village EPB and the town EPB, but unofficially. So we have 2 or 3 buckets set up by all the trash cans, and somebody donated little like flower pots for each of the tables. And so we've been doing a rotating schedule, coming in, picking up any compost that's there, driving it out to the town site for drop off, and watering the plants. And so far the rotating schedule has worked out very well. I asked everybody for an update, and everybody said that they've received some positive feedback. They're really happy that the tables are there and they love the flowers. I personally haven't noticed a lot of compost there whenever I've done pickup, but I think that part of that is people are taking takeout from the local restaurants to eat there. And so in theory, there shouldn't be a lot of leftovers to either throw out or compost. So my hope is that people haven't just been ignoring them to throw it out instead, but we do have some signage, and generally I think the feedback has been positive.
This is Alex. I just have to interject and say thank you so much, for you guys really rock. That whole team just springing into action so quickly was so awesome. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to Ariana for getting that started.
Definitely. Thank you, Ariana.
I reached out to the right people. That's all.
That's great. Even Fiona, without a lot of, we'll say, production in the actual compost, the idea that people are being exposed to it or seeing it, or it's starting to become more and more, out there is, I think, a step in the right direction. So it's good stuff. Right. Any questions for Fiona? Any comments or other things in regards to composting in the village? All right. We'll move on to old business then. We have 4 items on there. The first one is review update of the idling laws and zoning regarding fossil fuels. I don't have any update, but Alex, I think you talked about wanting to talk about that topic.
Oh yeah. So I guess in announcements I shared, just what I've been doing on, some fossil fuel developments, which is not the same thing as zoning out fossil fuels, but obviously what happens with dance camera, I think is going to definitely inform what we'll have to do on a local level, considering things in the state level things are so weird this year, so that's that. But I just shared it in the chat, and then I also just emailed to you all 2 weeks ago. Senator Pete Harckham who represents the Senate district just south of us, like Rockland County area, introduced a bill that's pretty similar to an idling bill that had been introduced in the past. On my first read, it looks a lot like Westchester County's idling, like passenger car idling bill. It's basically like, you know, if you're idling for longer than 3 minutes, you know, the first offense, you know, you get a warning. This way it's a slow roll in. And then after that, it's, you know, a civil penalty. A few things that are different about this law than like I've seen in older versions of it. It seems to really lay out different like exceptions for like, you know, a hybrid vehicle or I don't know. There's a bunch of exceptions in it that I guess weren't like relevant, you know, a long time ago or didn't seem as relevant. You know, like if you need to charge your vehicle for a second or something, I don't know. There's some weird lines. So it would be cool if everyone could read through it and, you know, let me know what you think, because one thing that I do love about this bill is it does what the plastic bag law did not do, where it has a nice little sentence in there that says this does not preempt local laws as long as those local laws are at least as strict as this. So if you all like you want to read through that, I'll read through it a couple more times. I'll make sure to share it you know, with my board. And if you see some areas that, you know, New Paltz could do way better somehow, you know, then I think it would be worth pursuing, because the language in this proposed bill would not lead to the plastic bag situation. It would empower us basically, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, so that bill legislation is out there. I put it on the. I also copied it to the agenda that's posted as part of the Zoom for others to see.
Thank you.
And it gives us the opportunity, those two topics combined as one, idling laws and zoning regarding fossil fuel facilities, were items for us to approach once some doable, reasonable language was out there. So this is our opportunity to see it, review it, and consider it at the local level.
Yeah, I'm just so like that one sentence when I read it, I literally was like, woohoo, we could, you know, it's worth pursuing without, you know, the headaches and stuff. So that's awesome. And they are returning to session. You know, I know in previous years, usually that whole Albany thing would end in June, but you know, no, they're going back I think in a week or two. So who knows, it might pass. But yeah, we can work on this.
Okay. Sounds great.
I just unmuted myself. I wanted to say good things about the composting, and then about the idling. What I've noticed is the main idlers are the police, and that they idle their cars, and that when they were asked, I think it was 2 years ago, if they could cut down on it, the chief said something about how they had to idle their cars in order to keep their computers running. But I just can't believe that's true. I feel like there's got to be a way around that. You know, I mean, like how big of a battery do you need to run a computer? You know what I mean?
That's an awesome
that was
point.
the excuse, because they idle. They're the ones idling all the time. And the other big idlers, unfortunately, with the diesel and the children, are the school buses. So anyhow, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. That's
other?
something we should find out more about with the police for sure. Now that there's, you know, more open conversations going on. Definitely. Let's ask.
Okay. Any other comments, concerns regarding that first item? Second item is the solar panel installation at the town landfill. It is still working through the process of getting a proposal from the contractor. The town board's instructions still remain one proposal for on the landfill and one proposal that would include landfill and off landfill areas, but there's no other update at this time. Last couple of times we've talked about looking at the website and or the budget and spending items. And the NRI grant, Natural Resource Inventory, is underway. It's moving along pretty well. And I think there are some draft documents and close to completion here too. It's tied also to the Community Preservation Fund effort. And so that natural resource inventory is moving along. Any other old business items, questions, concerns? Okay, next item is new business, but we've already completed the consideration of the research intern. Our recommendation will be passed along to the village board for further consideration. Any other new business? Any other items of interest for the Environmental Policy Board other than the town's MS4 annual report? If you remember last month, I gave a presentation on what the town is doing as part of their required annual reporting process. That report is posted on the town's website and is still open for comment for another couple of days. Any questions on it, you could certainly reach out to the same email address. Any other items of interest? Okay, we're real close to finishing this up at 1 hour. If there's no other things, I'll consider a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Before we do that, thank you, Ariana, for taking minutes and setting up the meeting and have everything run smoothly this evening.
Thank you so much.
Thanks to everyone else. Riley, it was good to meet you. With that, all those in favor of adjourn, say aye. Aye. Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.